All right, hey traders, TG Watkins here. Let's make sure. It looks like we got everything up and running, and yeah, we've got this going in a few rooms, including Facebook, YouTube, and glad to see everybody here. Okay, and so what we're going to be doing today is going over an introduction to some of my current strategies that seem to be working, trying to work in this kind of market in this environment. But if you guys have any other questions, just remember you can come over to simplertrading.com/moxie. And then we also have any number of customer support people that will help you out if you guys give them a call, have any questions about what we do and how we do it. All right, so diving into that, let's take a look. The best way that I've been looking at this market is pretty much through higher time frames. It's either that or kind of day trading. We've had recently some really good swing trades that have been working, and I've been trying to look at them and say, okay, what has been the consistent factors at play with these names? And since I'm a swing trader, I trade stock. Day trading is not really quite my thing because I don't want to be watching the chart all day long, watching this one particular move, and then also having to figure out which ticker, which symbol is going to be moving in a way that is going to be tradable for the day. It's just kind of not my thing. However, I can teach it, and so the kind of the rules, the setups, the configurations, the formations that I use when I trade on the daily, hourly, and 15 can be applied down to the 15, the 5, and the 2 for day trade. In fact, we just did that. I just went into NVIDIA and Netflix, or not Netflix, SPY, Amazon. I did a lot of that for day trading today when I was on the mic in the options room. But for, I think, a lot of people who have a day job or don't want to be day trading either, and they want to be in the market and they want to participate in longer term gains, this I think is where there can be a lot of opportunity, and I think works well for a lot of people out there. So this is primarily what I'm going to be talking about today as far as those kind of strategies that we're looking for. Now, it is still not an all green type market. You can't just buy it, set it, forget it situation, but we're seeing some opportunities, and I want to show you kind of what the consistent methods are that we're seeing. So number one, if we're looking at the SPY, the indexes, I know that there's a lot of difference between, say, the regular index versus the equal weight index. But if we're looking at the overall index, what we're seeing is we have price over the monthly 10. And then generally speaking, we have price over every single moving average on the weekly time frame and stacked properly. We have all the fast moving averages over all of the slow moving averages. And for now, that's what we're working with. Now, I'll show you some examples where that doesn't work, because you need to be aware that when things don't work, that's just how things go, and what to be aware of when they don't work. But before we get to that, let's kind of show you some things that are working. And what I'm seeing, so here's PANW. And the first things first, we need to get over moving averages. Clearly, if price is underneath a moving average, the best we can hope for is a reversion to that mean, a little move up off the low, but there's no guarantee that it's actually in an uptrend. If price is over the moving average, well, at least we're in a better position and better opportunity to say, yes, price is in an uptrend, and we're just now looking for price to continue along those moving averages. So yes, like this was a big move, okay, but you'd have to play the move off the low up to wherever. Fine. If we're looking at a higher time frames and we're looking for longer term investment type or swing trading, or what is the overall trend, we can wait, because yes, I would say that this was that first move. That first move changed it from being bearish to now potentially bullish. Now, the second move is basically the confirmation of all that. We're looking for price to confirm support and confirm that it is going to respect or hold moving averages and continue to move up. And so that would be the second move. And what we can see here on PANW into the weekly chart is over the last, call it 2, maybe 3 months, it's kind of pulled back a little bit, back sideways, down a little bit, and right into an uptrending monthly 10. And here it is making new highs. And what we can see is on the weekly chart, in this case, it was about the weekly 21. Now, the weekly chart can be a little bit more difficult as far as, is it going to be the weekly 21? Is it going to be the weekly 50? Which moving average is price going to respect? And that can be the challenge of the market, is figuring out exactly which one it is. But if you want to look at it like the overall big picture, the monthly 10 has been doing pretty well for some of these things. But yeah, the weekly 21 seems to be typically a pretty good spot. So also in this market, breakouts have not been doing well, and continuations have not been doing well. So finding the lows has been doing better, and will give you build in a little bit more buffer for you as well. Because if you're wrong, you kind of know because it just keeps going down, as opposed to if you're trying to break a breakout and it pulls back, but then it goes up later. You give up some time in order to know if you're right or wrong. So for something like this, the other thing to kind of note right through here, you can see, and this is another common thing, PA&W expended all of its energy just to get right back up to a previous all-time high. It's kind of like a game of whack-a-mole. Are you going to be the one of the first person to try and buy up here and try to break out of a new high after it had already gone up for 3 months and basically went from its low to its high? You really think that's going to keep moving up like that? Probably not. So the most likely thing that's going to happen is going to pull back, recoup, build some support, build some strength, and try again later. Now, yes, it happened on earnings, but so be it. The price charts are what the price charts are, and that's what's happening. So that's PA&W. CXM is another one. And you can see that this has now changed from a downtrend, because it's underneath the monthly 10, to a potential uptrend. And again, I'm going to be using potential for pretty much all these things to describe, because there's no absolutes in the market. And by the time you guys see this, anything can happen, anything can change. So just understand that this is for educational purposes, and I got to use potential. But if you can see, we have price over the monthly 10. And we now have all the moving averages in the right direction. We almost have the 30 crossing over the 50, but again, we have price over the moving averages, and those moving averages are angled up and moving up. And you can see that we have price, generally speaking, holding the weekly 21s. And again, difficult to want to buy at a high. This market has not been working. You need to be buying at lows. All right, and then RPD. And again, I'm showing you things in a variety of setups so that you can kind of see a wide swath of what's happening out there. Some are doing better, some are doing nothing, and that's what I want to show you. Now, look at RPD. And if we even just step back, because this, I have 5 or 10 years on the monthly chart. Generally speaking, you see how price holds the moving average, and there are times where it pushes through it and comes back, but for the most part, underneath the monthly 10, not doing well. It's in a downtrend. But when you get over the monthly 10, now we're talking. And again, underneath the monthly 10, it continues to the downside. So if we look simply at that, what are we starting to see? Let me zoom in on here. We're starting to notice is that price is now at least trying to get over the monthly 10. Is this going to be the one that takes it up and moves? Well, we don't know. But at least it's no longer underneath the moving average. And now we have, if it wants to move up, it's basically free to move up if it wants to. It's trying to hold the moving average, and it can go up and do something. And if you look at the weekly chart, again, we have the 8 over the 21. We do have price underneath 50, but it is over the 30. So again, it's making some progress. And this is at least in a position where it's been going sideways for some time. And if it is able to move up, it has all the right things, all the right ingredients in order to move up for something like that. And let me just look at NRDS to show you something that didn't work, okay? Just so that we have a fair and balanced view of looking at this, and not that I'm just cherry picking all the ones that do work. So for example, NRDS, we could look at something like this and say, hey, yeah, this has been going sideways. Which is great. In this kind of market, going sideways is the first step. It's like it's the first step to recovery. And you can see it started going sideways, and then look what it did. It actually got over the monthly 10 and then used the monthly 10 to move up, and it was making great new highs. Now, again, you don't want to be buying the highs. You don't want to be chasing this, because I can show you time and time again that oftentimes they get too high, they do pull back. The question is, where do they pull back and where do they find support? In this case, there was no support, not until it came all the way back down to pretty much where it began. And so, yeah, this one would not be one that would be good. It wasn't working, wasn't holding any kind of supports, and you need to be aware of that and just say, oh, that didn't work, and get out, or whatever you need to do in order to, keep yourself safe on something like this. So that one didn't work. All right, then if we look at MNDY, and again, what are the common themes of what we're seeing with something like this? We're noticing that price has stopped going down. It has generally gotten over the monthly 10, and you can see it's trying to hold the monthly 10, an uptrending monthly 10, and trying to make new highs. And on the weekly chart, again, the moving averages are stacked properly. You have price pulling back into those moving averages. You don't want to chase the highs. And this was earnings that really kicked things off and moved it up. So at this point, you just kind of need to find the right opportunity to find a decently safe entry. Maybe something that you're not chasing it, so you're not buying at the highs. You look for the next pullback or the next flag. But overall, this looks like a name that could be pretty good once we find a buy opportunity. Then we can let's look LZ. Keep on anything landing zone because pilot, so LZ. But this is legal zoom. Now, whether these names are going to be great names or not, hey, that's up to the market to decide. What I'm trying to show you is from a chart standpoint, from a technical analysis standpoint, what are we noticing? And what I'm seeing are there are a fair number of names that have basically stopped going down, and they're trying to now get over moving averages and use those moving averages to move higher. And you can see here, legal zoom, stopped going down, Moxie indicator started to fire, and now we are trying to make progress. Now, is this ready to go right now? Who knows? But what we look for is we see if price is going to continue to engage with and follow and move with these moving averages and give us some structure that we can work with. For example, Valvoline, VVV. Let me double check. Yeah, Valvoline, just making sure. And what are we seeing here? Now, again, this one was on earnings, but speaking, what was it doing? It was really just flagging sideways to down until the monthly 10 came into it. And look at it right there. It just bounced right off the monthly 10. And even on the weekly chart, again, with the moving averages, at least stacked properly. You had the fast moving average is over the slow moving averages. So it at least had all the ingredients to go up if it wanted to go up. It did do this on earnings. So give it a little bit of time, a little bit of flagging, and see if there's an opportunity to get into a name like this at some point a little bit later. Well, let's see, GFL, just another one kind of showing you this. What is the difference between a downtrend and uptrend? Well, simply speaking, over or below the monthly 10. We can look at that. Now, granted, these are monthly time frames, so they're very slow, and there can be big moves in an entire monthly bar. So you have to decide if you can handle something like that. But look what it did. It pulled back or flagged sideways into an uptrending monthly 10. And here on the weekly chart, again, all the moving averages are stacked properly. And for the most part, pulling back right into the weekly 21 were good opportunities to get on something like this that continued to move up. Now, let me show you another name that did not work. Again, we can kind of be aware of these things, HT. Now, the one thing I can say about this, similar to NRDS, is you don't want to chase, you don't want to, in this market, you don't want to be buying the highs. You don't want to be getting way up or kind of near the upper end of its range or after a very long time of it moving up, because it's going to get tired. It's getting far away from its moving averages, and price likes to stay relatively close to its moving averages for support. And you can just see it got up. It's been traveling up for several months, and then finally it started to kind of run out of steam. And oh, look, back it goes. So now that it's done this, we will have to see. I would be watching this and seeing if this is perhaps a place that it could actually find some support, because if you look left, here's a whole lot of support from price, and here, and look, it's right there again. No idea if it's going to actually work. We have to actually look and wait to see if it can change directions, because remember, here was a dip. We don't know if this was the right dip or this was the right dip. You wait for it to actually turn. You wait for things to actually go back up, get those moving averages back on the right side. You want the fast moving averages over the slow moving averages. We don't have that yet, but this is something that you can now keep on your list and wait and watch. Let's see. STM. Just going to show you guys a handful of others. Again, here's another one where great trade right here, got over the monthly 10. We got the moving averages stacked properly, and you know what? It had an awesome trade. But two things. Number one, all-time high. Do you want to play the game of whack-a-mole where you're the one buying the new all-time high after it's already gone up for however many months? Probably not. Sometimes it works, but for the most part, there are probably better ways to get into something. And you can also see price was already very extended. I was already very far and pretty far away from the moving averages. So what do you do? Well, for number one, be careful, because the likelihood of it pulling back to support, pretty significant. You can see that's exactly what it did. But now what we do is, since it's down here, now this will be on your watch list. You might say, hey, let's see if it can find some support and see if this holds and if it actually starts moving up. And if it does, that might be a good place to buy in and to set up a trade. But that's STM showing you something around there. Squarespace. I'm sure a lot of you probably know about this, especially if you watch any YouTube, because they advertise a lot on YouTube and for on YouTube channels. But same thing, look, it stopped going down. It got over the monthly 10, had its first big move. You don't want to go chase it. Got pretty far away from the moving average, again, with outside the boundaries. And then what it do? Pulled back. Now that, remember the 21. The 21 EMA on the weekly chart tends to be a good place to buy if it's going to hold. And you can see right here, it came back all the way to the monthly 10. So another situation, another indication to look at these things and say, you know what? This seems like it's in an uptrend. I don't want to chase it. I want to buy at the lows. What did it just do? It pulled back. Might be a good place to look into something like this. Let's see. I'll show you maybe one or two more. Let's see. FRPT, Fresh Pet. And again, I mean, if you just look at the life cycle of this kind of chart, and you look back here, it took a little bit of getting going, several months of it just kind of going sideways, but getting there, being over the moving averages and starting to make headway. And then look, it just kept following the moving averages and did an amazing job with something like that. Now, granted, there were a couple of big dips. Maybe they would have taken you out. That's okay. You can always get back in as long as you notice that price is holding the moving averages you want. But then look, right here is where price got rejected and underneath the monthly 10, did it twice. And then what do we have here? Well, we are back over the moving average. We're back over it. And same thing, we got all the moving averages stacked properly on the weekly chart. Now, the difficult thing about something like this is while it does have all the right pieces, some of these may just not go. They might fizzle and fade and roll back over and the trade's off. They might try to be holding the monthly 10 for now, and then they might eventually not, and they just don't work. Or some of these names could go sideways for a very long time. That is the challenge of trading, trying to figure out what they're going to do. But what I can say is if this wants to go up, it has all the right ingredients in order to go up because it's got all the moving averages stacked properly. It has the moving averages moving up. It's over those moving averages. And so, just trying to separate the wheat from the chaff, at least this one, not in completely chaff. This thing would actually have some potential. So I think that kind of gives you a good overview of what to be looking on out there. And yeah, hopefully kind of adds a little bit to your repertoire and your understanding of the markets out there. And remember, if you like the way that I talk about the markets and all that stuff, we're always running some specials and some deals. You can come over for a 30-day trial, simplertrading.com/Moxie. All right. Thanks again, everyone. And we'll see you at the next one.